take a look again now at what capabilities cabinet ministers need to have. Let's play out certain scenarios with Roland, Henwood, politics lecturer at the University of Pretoria. Thank you very much, Mr. Henwood, for availing yourself this afternoon. Perhaps if we start with your interpretation or reading of the mood in South Africa just before we get into the politics of it, how would you characterize the air?
Good afternoon. I think the mood is one of dissatisfaction and disillusionment. We've had cabinet members sitting in portfolios for, in some instances, being members of cabinet for a decade plus. And we see a decline in the quality and the availability of services. There's a lot of talk about changes and turning things around, but we don't really see that happening. There's very, very little evidence of that. And that's why the mood is one of dissatisfaction, disillusionment. And that is why there's a lot of interest and a lot of talk about what will and what may happen in terms of a restructuring or a wholesale change of the South African cabinet.
Yeah. Speaking of which, let's take a look at the position of Deputy President. This is something that has been dismissed by the ruling party as simply being untrue, that the Deputy President, David Mabuza, has resigned. In the event that he indeed has resigned, or there will be a cabinet reshuffle, because there is a deputy president for the ANC, and by virtue of that, we assume there's going to be a new deputy president for the country. What does South Africa need, or what are South Africans looking for in a deputy president?
Okay, I think one must differentiate that there's no regulation or law that requires the Deputy President of the ANC to be the Deputy President of South Africa. It has become the norm, though, since the ANC took over government in 1994. And there's nothing wrong with that, but it's not a legal requirement. I think one needs to look at the constitutional provisions and then the political dimension of this. Constitutionally, the Deputy President serves at the behest of the president, so it is somebody that the president is going to basically ask to serve as deputy president. The practice we see politically is that the ANC takes it that its deputy president must be the deputy president of South Africa as soon and when that is possible. The role of that person is to be the leader of government affairs in parliament, in essence the representative of the president and the link between cabinet and the party and what happens in parliament. But the deputy president has also taken on a number of other responsibilities in South Africa. And this goes back in terms of how the ANC conducts its business. For instance, the deputy president has been quite involved in issues around HIV and AIDS when that was a burning issue. And we know that the deputy president chairs the so-called War Council on Eskom and electricity generation. The deputy president chairs the party's deployment committee, which is centered in the issue around cadre deployment or the deployment of ANC members to positions that governments wants them to serve in. So there are a number of important functions and functional dimensions linked to politics and the position of deputy president. The important issue is that the deputy president can easily become a symbol with no real functionalities. And luckily, I think in the case of South Africa, that is not the case. We see somebody that is actually involved in very important functional context of politics and of governance. How effective that is a different issue. But at least there's that responsibility and that role given to the deputy president.
Speaking of effective, let's take a look at the position of public enterprises. The Mail and Guardian carrying a very interesting front page and an image of Pravin Gordhan with his hands on his face, and the interpretation there is that he looks a bit distressed, and the headline reads, "Failed Enterprises." Why is the Public Enterprises Department so critical for South Africa?
Well, it's critical because it was created to manage public enterprises, and we must remember these include SAA, Eskom, etc. So these are crucial institutions to make South Africa function, and the expectation when this ministry was created was to make it more efficient, to ensure better control, better alignment. And then if we go back in time, the undertakings coming from the ANC leadership was that public enterprises was supposed to play a central role in driving economic development, in ensuring more opportunities, especially for marginalized South Africans, and make sure that there's more opportunities for more people, and to share, in other words, in the benefits of good governance, but also the economic opportunities that is offered in the context of South Africa. And very important in that mindset, the fact that this will be government-led. So the state and government plays a key role in achieving these objectives. It's not something that's to be left to the private sector with government as an onlooker. Quite frankly, there's no trust in the private sector from most people in government. And the idea was that we create this ministry to ensure good control, but also achieving all these other objectives. The problem is that very little has come from those idealistic expectations. What we've seen is actually a collapse of state enterprises, despite all these efforts, despite the role of the ministry and the leadership in the ministry. They actually have very little to show except failure and a dismal level of performance.
So whomever enters this position, what capabilities do they need to possess? I guess I ask that in terms of, you speak of policies that have failed. Is it a matter of the policy? So much has been said about the ANC possessing stellar policies, but it is, what is it? You need people that can actually drive that and implement that. So is it about the personality, or is it about the party itself not being able to implement its policies? And if not, why?
I think we're looking at a combination of factors, and one should not go and say these are the lists of characteristics that you're looking for, and you tick boxes and magically something is going to happen. It does not work like that. I would say the most important criteria or attribute of that person is going to be an ability to be an effective leader. And linked to that, it must be somebody that has the ability to take the party on board and to take the party along. So you have to merge party interests with governance interests with societal interests in South Africa. And it sounds quite simple. I mean, these should be obvious things, but it's actually quite difficult to get somebody with that ability. So you need someone with a managerial leadership ability, but also an astute politician, somebody that can take the party and the party leadership along on this and merge these interests and achieve their objectives. And that has not happened. And here I think it's not because necessarily the minister was a poor minister. I think it's a result of allowing the institutional capacity to decay for too long before there was this engagement, and then not getting to grips with the institutional challenges. The fact that you have people appointed in key positions that are not up to the job, the fact that you unfortunately have quite a number of people involved in this who are not honest, who are serving themselves, the fact that you have this infighting, political infighting in the ANC, but that seems to also have permeated into government, and then the reality of a very challenging environment in which you have to function. Where you have serious challenges. I mean, we can go back 2008-9, the international or the global financial crisis. Since then, you've had serious problems with environmental catastrophes. You've had COVID, etc. You've had the war in Ukraine. All these things play into making this a very complex environment. So you need somebody with these abilities. And then lastly, if the senior leadership of the party do not support this person fully, it's not going to make any difference. And that may be one of the key challenges. Over time, we've seen a president not giving the support to the proper policies, but having other ideas in mind. And we've seen this infighting weaken the leadership. So you don't get the kind of support that you need. And that, linked to all the other problems, make this a very difficult portfolio. And it seems that the mood in the ANC after the December conference is, let's do away with the minister. The question is, do you get rid of all the problems, or do you create just a different set of problems?
Mr. Henwood, just finally for us, this difficult portfolio, there is a suggestion to move Eskom to Gwedemandashe's portfolio of energy. Your take on that?
I don't think that is really that important. What is more important is who will be the minister, what will be the policy guidelines, what will be the policy objectives, and lastly, whose interests will be served. And let's be honest, there are very serious and hard questions being asked about Mr. Mantashe as minister, but also about the ministry and its positioning. And that's the crux of the issue. So it's not where Eskom ends up, it's what is the portfolio and the personality and the objectives of this, and how is that going to either support Eskom or derail it even more.
Roland Henwood is with the University of Pretoria. He's a politics lecturer there. Thank you.